I think their unexpectedness. Unexpected because I think most business minds come into looking at the base of the pyramid as something that, first of all, is extremely long-term, probably not, profit is not going to play a very big role in it. And I think they're surprised by the opportunities for recreating the business models and actually delivering a profit in a fairly short term. So I would say, and the fact that a company can really get involved, I think, is unexpected to other people too. Oh, this big multinational is interested in this segment of the market. So the unexpectedness of it.
You know, I think the potential for businesses at the base of the pyramid to both have a social and/or environmental impact on the communities where they're operating, in addition to the financial impact and the ability to create wealth and to create jobs and create prosperity, can be game-changing for this entire sector.
BOP markets are powerful because you're delivering useful goods and services that can make people's lives better, and you could do it in a scalable way.
I think one of the most common misconceptions is about innovation, and we used to think that innovation is something that we are bringing top down, but when we go to these communities we find a lot of very interesting examples of innovation where we use very few resources and simple things, simple solutions, but very effective. I think that the world in the future will need this kind of innovation because we have limited resources, and it's not about how complicated it is, but how simple and how scalable and how can you make it run in a long term. And as they work and they struggle for survival, they have those concepts inherited in their being. So I think it's very important when we look to the base of pyramid as a place where you can find innovation within there, not necessarily bringing innovation into the base of pyramid.
Whatever business model you think is going to work when you're drafting it in your mind or having the entrepreneurial idea never really is what ends up happening. It's not until you interface with the marketplace, until you interface with the customer and see what the challenges are, what the opportunities are, what the needs are, what the desires are. It's not until you get that kind of input and tweak your business models to reflect that kind of input that you begin to really have a business model that works.
I think that you have to revamp everything to be a successful company at the base of the pyramid. Certainly there are some tweaks that usually need to be made, whether you're talking about packaging size, for example, or even the amount of packaging that you use, in part to bring down the cost. It could be changing the display, marketing techniques, merchandising techniques that you use. But basically, I think that most companies have products that would appeal to the base of the pyramid right now. And sometimes I think they underestimate the tastes of the base of the pyramid, many of which are quite aspirational.
The most effective way to spread the word about BOP or base of the pyramid business models is viral marketing from a happy customer. If somebody gets a product, in our case again eyeglasses, and they're happy, they're going to tell their family and friends, they're going to tell their neighbors, and it can really spread like wildfire. So probably the best way to spread the word about BOP businesses is just to make your consumer or your customer happy.
We have a case in Brazil where Lego is helping to promote one of our teams coming from low-income communities to go to the United States to the robotics festival that happens in St. Louis this year. So it brings a lot of motivation, and they can see themselves being transformed by this experience. So this is a sort of a motivation that can spread very easily because they can see the results from what they're experiencing.
having examples, successful examples to point to has been critical, certainly within the company, because we're a company, we employ over 200,000 people, and even at the executive levels, there are varying degrees of commitment to working with the base of the pyramid, or varying degrees of belief that this can be a successful business model. So if we can point to examples where, in fact, in a small pilot project, something has worked. I believe in pilots. We had some debate about them this morning, but I believe they are an effective way to demonstrate within a company that this is something that deserves to cross business units, maybe from the food business to the beverage business in our case, and to cross borders. I think the idea that entrepreneurship needs to play a role as well in all of this. We have been working with multilateral development organizations. We've been working with the NGO community. What we haven't looked at so much is where do other, maybe smaller companies come into this? Where can we look for entrepreneurship to fit into these value chains, in particular on the supply side? So I think that more than anything is what I take away.
My goal is that we want to bring a sustainable model, but on top of all, we want to bring social mission. So my goal is to see how can we figure out to put these two pieces together. It must be sustainable, so it must be profitable, but it must also to bring the social mission, which is deliver education. We need to emphasize the component of transformation of a society that is able to be independent. I mean, most of society be inclusive, independent. And I think the most important thing that I need to understand here is how can we put the pieces together and we can run together a social mission and profitable models.
As with anything, every meeting and conference I go to, with all credit to the organizers, the most interesting things that happen are the conversations that you have at lunch and in the hallways. And so I've made some very interesting new connections here that definitely we'll look forward to partnering with. But again, it's good to see that there's so many resources being channeled right now to this sector, and to see an organization like the IDB now putting so many resources. And I know it's something that started very small, as Michael was saying earlier, in a conference room down in the basement of this building, but that it's really growing, and actually now there are so many resources behind it. And just hearing Luis and Elizabeth talk about some of the ways that you all are now bringing in other parts of the banks and the investment arms, I think is really encouraging. So we look forward to continuing to partner with the IDB and think about how do we create more partnerships of this kind, and how do we involve the members in our organization with the work that you're already doing.
Taking home that there's a large subset of very motivated, very smart, very dedicated practitioners and funders that are out there, that there is an ecosystem of support that is starting to really brew and gel. And so I'm very optimistic that more and more people are paying attention to this, and you've got some wonderful both human resources and dollar resources starting to look at the BOP as a true business opportunity.